All right, everybody, we are back again for another episode of The Coaches Compass. Now, remember, I don't know what episode it is. I just continue to record, continue to bring on cool guests from all across the world. Now, hit that like, subscribe, comment button down below so continue to have this thing grow. Continue to bring on cool guests from all over the world. I got another special guest with me here today. I got Coach Reid. He's the Director of Football Performance at William & Mary. Coach, welcome, and thank you for being here on The Coaches Compass.
That's right, man. That's right. It's good to be here, man. I like coaching and I like compasses. This is good.
A little bit of everything, baby. So my first question comes to you from a former coach that just came on, right? Coach Gabe Mason out of Shepherd University. He asks, if you had one person in your life right now to be mentored by, who would you want it to be?
Professionally, right?
Yeah.
My goodness. One individual. It's so hard to narrow it down because you think about the different people that influence different aspects of your coaching, right? Philosophically, in terms of a leadership perspective, I would say Jocko Willink, no doubt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
him?
The X's and O's, just in terms of leadership. So since being put in a position where you oversee individuals, you oversee professionals, you're not just the leader of your stakeholder position within the sport ecosystem in terms of being a sports performance coach, but you have people you oversee, you have full-time professionals. The level of leadership gets scaled to an extent where regardless of whatever sort of tactical, technical, and physical aspects you put into play in your yearly cycle in terms of physical preparation and getting the guys ready to play American football, that is completely tertiary and secondary to what I am as a leader and how I can leverage my individual, my staff's abilities and skills to put them in positions where they could be the most influential. So in terms of Les Spellman, in terms of just straight up and down speed work, getting the guys ready, especially when it comes down to combine stuff, for my money, I don't think anybody's better. In terms of running a strength and conditioning program, building a culture in an American college football program, Luke Day at the University of South Carolina, for my money, he's about as good as anybody there is. James Smith, that would be.
The list goes on and
yeah,
on.
I would want to go get my mind bent by him for a couple months and come out way better on the other side. I'm a firm believer that in coaching, you are only as good as your ability to steal and apply given your constraints. So just in terms of who I've been influenced by, the science and practice of strength and conditioning, there's a million guys, but just in terms of like leadership, yeah, man, give me like a Jocko Willink. Just get right as a leader.
Coach, it sounds like you've already had practice today, right? Like you're still fired up and ready to roll. But like,
it's the off day, baby. We're good to go, man. We're good to go. I got some juice.
Yeah, I love it, baby. And so if you look at your coaching style right now, you think back to your younger self, would you want to be coached by you?
Yeah, I would say that's kind of the reason I got into coaching to begin with. I don't really have a fundamental path. No coach does. You get any strength coach on here, they're going to tell you their story. And man, I got an unconventional path. And it's like, okay, yeah, well, we all do, So it's
so then it becomes conventional because we're all unconventional.
I was about to say, in lieu of yes, that's right. Yep, that's the absence of evidence is not something like that. But no, I got into this field late in my college career. I was studying journalism. I was doing podcasting. I was doing sports news journalism. I was doing all types of stuff like that. Just putting my hand in 100 different pots, trying to figure it out. I was always doing personal training. When I played defensive back and wide receiver at Winona State. It's a D2 school in Minnesota. And I cared much more, I think, at that time about the aesthetics than I did about sports performance. So I'd come in on any given day and, read T Nation and Elite FTS articles and try to destroy my body on, who cares how it fits into the schedule. And then I'd bring my DV buddies with me, like, yeah, we're going to do Fat on Friday and get right, So we're doing that whole thing.
New Jersey, baby.
Yeah, that's right. That's what mattered. We had the bands, trying to get the pump before going out. That's, truly priorities. That was high on our priority list at the time.
Yeah.
But, we did, we're doing that whole thing. And I had a wonderful strength conditioning coach named Jeff Renardi, the 2009 NSCA Strength Coach of the Year out of Winona State, just an OG of all OGs. He's mentored so many big names in the field throughout the years. I just stayed put at Winona for, 20 some odd years. I had him, and then Coach Tom Sawyer was the head football coach. And I remember coming into the weight room late, and I was like, guys, should I get back into, should I play, exhaust my last couple years of eligibility? Should I get back into playing ball? I had some injuries. I'd stopped at the time. Should I get into football coaching? Should I get into strength conditioning? I remember Coach Shore just kind of like, Reid, you love this weight room thing, man. Just do this. And I was like, okay,
Come on over, man. Join
yeah. I
us.
was like, where do I start? And then, um, yeah, they said you can start the internship, and it's not as simple as what looks wrong with this squat. It's what is mitochondria do in the cell during certain activities and yada yada. So we had to start from ground zero, and we had to get the textbooks. We had to do everything we had to do to get the necessary certifications, years of unpaid interning, get the masters in the field. So I started late and got into that. My number one thought process was, how can I possibly be the coach when I played, when I was super desperate for validation and I was insecure and had no idea of the type of guy I wanted to be. And I had things going on back at home and traumas that weren't sort of dealt with, and heavy stuff with my family at the time. And I'm just doing Lord knows what at 18, 19 years old. How can I
Like us
be,
all.
no doubt, right? How can I be the guy when I walked? I remember David Braun. He's now the head coach at Northwestern, out of the Big Ten. At the time, he was the defensive coordinator. Every day he'd see me, Reid, what's up, buddy? Come here, man. How's everything going? Kind of mess with you. Like, man, when are you going to gain a couple pounds? Kind of just little stuff like that. Those interactions where I'm in a dark place, and then he just puts the battery in my back, and I'm a different human being after I have that one little interaction. And in my mind, Coach Sawyer was that way. Coach Renardi was that way. Now, the good Lord is working with me with forgiveness and having a light heart for individuals that I feel I maybe didn't have the best history with. But I definitely remember every single interaction I had with the coaches that weren't as supportive. And I'm not even talking about in a critical way, which they should. I mean, Jesus help me. They should have been highly critical of me at that time.
Right.
But I'm talking about, you're walking the football building and their heads are down, they storm past, and there's not even like a good morning, like to your own guy. And it's a cut. You just get slashed by that every time. And now I'm thinking every single day, and do I fall short? I mean, 100% I fall short of the mark a lot. But that's one thing I really try to live by. And I got this, actually, I was put onto this by Luke Day out of South Carolina, was above all else, love your brother, for love covers for a multitude of sins. That's from Peter. It's from the Bible, not the prophet Luke Day, but him really pushing that
The
with his
prophet
guys.
himself.
Yeah, him pushing that with his program and his guys, him and Chip Morton. That was extraordinarily foundational to me. So you can fall short, but love covers for a multitude of sins. So what can I do with my guys every single day to speak their love language? This guy, he comes from a certain background. I have no ability to understand him or be able to influence him until I first start with, hey, man, where are you from? Where do you come from? How many siblings do you have? What do you think of strength and conditioning? Hey, what are the characteristics of the best coach you've ever had? What are the characteristics of the worst coach you ever had? And you start to have these conversations, and it's unbelievable. You see these young men, they start to open up, because young men need an avenue to be able to share these things, and they don't feel like they have it. And 9 out of 10 times, they cannot wait to go there once you kind of crack that egg. So I start there on day one with all of my athletes. And I got that from Coach Lou Carell, who's now at Rice. That initial interview of, you start with the guys, you get to know them, because that's the only way we can possibly. I'm like, hey, I'm the latest iteration of the strength guy for you, and you are the athlete that I'm, let's not start with the, I love you, dude, on day one thing. Like,
Yeah.
let's try to do.
I don't know you yet, bro.
Yeah, man. Let's build a realistic relationship and set some expectations of how I can best help you and how can we serve each other. It's a partnership. So that's something I try to live by, man. I try to be the guy that puts the battery in their back every day, as opposed to the one that when they need me the most, and I might not know it, I can cut them and damage them just by virtue of me not being present in that moment. So I try to interact with all 101 of our guys every single day if I can, especially when we're all in the office. So would I want to be coached by me? I'm trying to build towards being that person that I have a son, and every single day I'm trying to build towards that position where if my son ends up being coached by the coach that I would like to be, I'll get on my knees and thank God.
But that's not taught in the textbooks, right? That stuff is
Yeah.
kind of, it's just X's and O's. Like, how can you get somebody in the right position to be able to lift heavier and all that stuff like that? That's what's taught us in the textbook.
Right.
Getting your athletes to actually buy in is that what you're talking about? Like, being able to get to know them on a deeper level and actually get them to open up. How much of that do you help your interns and those newer coaches coming into the field learn? And how hard is it for like some of the newer cats nowadays to actually understand that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're in an era where, and it's very good that we're sports science is kind of taking a step. You look at the old iterations of the textbooks that you needed to study in order to get the properly credentialed in our field as a collegiate strength and conditioning coach, and there's nothing in there in terms of tactical periodization, stress consolidation, matching practice stressors to your training stressors, sports science, how to monitor those things through wearables or force plates or any other modality you can have to sort of objectively test physical KPI tracking. All of that stuff, at least in American football specifically, I would say is relatively quote unquote cutting edge. And we're very far behind the rugbies of the
Yes,
world and overseas, the UK, Australia, Ireland, things like that. But we're catching up. And I
we're
think it's
getting
very,
there.
that's right. And I think it's very important for this next generation of strength and conditioning coaches to be able to implement those things to make the best possible interventions for physical preparation in our sport. Oh, that's awesome. I'm on the front lines, brother. I love it. I think the pendulum can swing. And when the pendulum swings, we start to look at these guys as dynamic stress load, high metabolic load distance, peak eccentric force asymmetry, instead of Steve. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you have to start there or none of it matters. And even if you did get the result, and you did, and say you had no relationship with the guy and you get good results and you mitigate and reduce the rates that injuries happen within that sport ecosystem that you work with, and the severity of the injuries that do happen are reduced as well, and you work well with the sport coaches, you match up practice stressors and you progress things each phase of the year to get them ready, you work backwards and you guys win the championship and everything's great and confetti falls from the sky and you spent 7 days a week away from your family for most of the year. Is that worth it? Or did you need to make an impact and actually have meaningful relationships with that work for that sacrifice to be worth it? For me, it's the latter there. It has to mean something more than just performance and more than W's and L's in order for this entire career to be worth it. Because my wonderful family that's right over there are people I think it's important to spend time with. So
I
when
mean,
I'm not with them, it's gotta make sense. You know what I'm saying by that?
I know exactly what you're saying about it because that's a hard thing that I think when we get into this field of strength and conditioning coaching, whether you're in the private sector, you're in coaching, you're in the college sector, you're in pros, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
right? We all want to be great, right? And we all want to
Right.
be the best at what we do, but we forget all the other things outside of what makes us be great, right? Like your family, right? They allow you to go out and do this stuff on a daily basis. Like when you come home, you got to be locked in for them too, right? So whatever you did at work, you got to leave work. But a lot of these young coaches don't understand the setting the boundaries and that being able to say no and hey, having a hard stop on what you do. Now, you remember your first days, like when you first got into this, like you were willing to do it all, right? Like you were going full and go. Like, how would you implement to your interns or the younger coaches or even some of the older guys, that have kind of sacrificed their life away from their families? And how would you tell them, like, hey, it's okay to say no to some of these things and go spend time with your family and fill your cup back up?
Yeah, I think that's a really introspective way to look at things, and you have to if you want to be able to satisfy all parties. The more your plate piles up, the more responsibility you have, the more valuable your time is, and you have to spend it intelligently. I would say going back to your first point with when you first starting to kind of say yes to everything, you don't have as much responsibility more often than not. You don't have a wife, you don't have kids, you don't own a house. You're living with a couple GAs and paying a couple bucks and drinking protein shakes and eating power bars and showing up at the facility and sleeping on, ARX pads. Shout out to Bobby O'Mullen. So I think that's a place that a lot of people start. You don't really have the capacity for responsibility. And as your responsibility kind of falls on you, your capacity has to meet it. It doesn't really go the other way around. At least for me. I mean, let me completely speak for myself. So to your second point there, what would you say in terms of how to, if I understand the question correctly, guard your time to make sure it's being allocated the best possible way?
Yes.
It starts with the situation that you put yourself in. In collegiate college, just talk about college football strength and conditioning, because that's what I know the best. just in college football strength and conditioning, there is a wild amount of variation in terms of how efficient you can be with your time. There's the coaching staffs that get so neurotic about winning and losing, which you should be. It all kind of rides on that. I get it. They get so neurotic that they think if we just spend more time in this office, magic will be created and eventually we'll get the result that we want. So it's not necessarily about the efficiency, but in their mind, they just get nervous and they're like, we just more time equals the odds are things will go well for us. And that's like a really popular sort of thought model for people that lead the ecosystem in American college football. You could also be wildly efficient with your time and treat it much more like a 9 to 5 position. We come in at 9 o'clock, we have a meeting right away. Your schedule has to be stocked full. It's not just you guys can just go and leave for a couple hours in the middle of the day or hang out in your office and watch Sports Center, because that's what it turns into with these 14-hour days. Like it turns into going to the weight room,
Ping pong, hit a little pool. You know?
Sure, man, just kind of shooting the whatever in the office, talking to your buddies, going to get a workout in, and talking like 25 minutes between sets. Next thing you know, you're out work for 14 days, but you're 14 hours, in the day, but you really did like 3 hours of focus work, and it probably sucked because it was scattered out too. So how can you be more efficient? And that completely comes down to the man or the woman that you are employed under. So in the interview process, you kind of have to counter interview, man. Like I get we're all desperate in this field to get these positions. We dream of them. It's competitive. But at the end of the day, you can hustle backwards and you can play yourself if you just think like, oh yeah, I can do that. Yeah, work long hours. Yeah, I'll be good because I want that logo on my chest and I'll be good. And then you get there and your life's awful and you think that was the mountaintop and it's not. And now you're looking around like, oh my gosh, I thought that's everything I ever wanted. And now where do you go? So it comes down to who you work for, man. And here we have wonderful people kind of in the professional hierarchy that I answer to professionally. It all just depends. So I would say to answer your question, you kind of got to interview yourself before you take a job.
And that's the hard part, because a lot of
Yeah.
people want to get in and get that logo, right? Because they just think
Yeah.
the logo means everything and everything's going to just be great if you get that logo because it's going to help boost my resume. I'm going to climb the ladder really quickly if I go there. And then it just might not be the fit for you. Because if you look at, how you would define success outside of PRs, outside of wins, outside of, what the guys do in the weight room or even on the field, what would you consider success for yourself?
Down the road, if my guys reach back out to me about things that go on with their lives, they get married, they have a kid, I get random phone calls, and they want to stay in touch. That's how. Outside of just the objective, I could do a whole report already of just this past off season of things that I believe that we did poorly and well thought out interventions of things that we're going to try next year that I believe will lead to a more favorable result. Things we did very well that help move the needle just in the physical coactive, which is what we're in charge of. I could do a whole report of progress where we hope to go and things that I believe that we did well. In terms of us getting the result with W's and L's, that speaks for itself. Ultimately, at the end of the season, when you look back at injury trends, that's kind of a global thing, but it's nobody's fault, but everyone's responsibility. You can look at your aspect, your role in that as well. So you got all those things to dictate if I'm going to get the best bonus at the end of the year, or like whatever it is. But in terms of if I executed my mission when I first got into this career path of coaching, yeah, comes down to what are my relationship like with those guys when they go off and start living their lives.
I love it. Coach, finish this sentence for me. Athletes today need more.
GPP.
Why
Yeah.
is that?
I just believe we're getting a lot of issues, and this has been spoken about by so many times by people far more intelligent than me, but just in terms of early specialization with movement patterns and repeat stress along the kinetic chain that sequenced in the same exact way when guys are playing, these 11-year-olds are playing AAU basketball, then school ball, then summer ball, then training year round and doing the whole thing. The machine that is your body can only operate in one way so many times before it has to start compensating, and then the compensations lead to fatigue, and the fatigue leads to potential issues. So you're seeing that with kids tearing their ACLs at 14, 15 years old. It's ridiculous. The joints should be rubber at that age. So I think just good old fashioned GPP, which is a cool way to say, hey man, let's build let's go outside and let's build a square of sticks, and then I'm gonna try to hit a pine cone with my hand into that, and then you have to like smack them out. And if I land one in there, you have to run around that tree and come back. Just these ridiculous random games that I was one of four boys. We just grew up doing. Like to this day, I'll go home. Me and my brothers will get together and we'll go in the backyard with like a little Tikes hoop, a wiffle ball bat, and like a couple tennis balls. And then we'll just start doing some like fun stuff. So I just think challenging your body in these where your joints have to sequence in different sorts of ways and attenuate different impulses of force in all these different ways. I think that leads to a more robust athlete. And at the end of the day, the director of sports performance here, Reid Peters, he always talks about the athlete-centered model, keeping the athlete at the middle, and everything else is around them. And the big thing when he talks to one of his sons who played, two of his sons played football at NDSU, the other one played basketball at NDSU, then eventually North Texas. He asked him, what's the most important thing for you in your college experience? And one of the top things he said was staying healthy. And it seems obvious, but it's like, you talk about best ability is availability. And yeah, in terms of us being able to have a right personnel to scheme for games, yes, that's important. But in terms of the individuals going through it, I medical redshirted a year of my college career with my back. It was awful. When you're hurt, it destroys so many different aspects of your life and how you psychologically just engage with the day-to-day operations of your life. That's the most important thing, man, is staying healthy. So I'll say, yeah, athletes these days need a little bit more of that, and they got to start it early.
Very,
Yep.
very early. Coach, now before we get out of here, you got 10 seconds to motivate a room. What do you say?
Oh, man, I'll just say what I said this past weekend. We had 2 lightning delays, okay? So we had to get these boys ready to go physically, mentally, spiritually.
2.
Good to go. They get out there. Let's go. Lightning delay. Come inside. My guys are just chilling on TikTok. I'm like, no, we're losing the magic, doing the whole thing. So we came out. You hear it happen all the time in boxing. You go out there, you're nervous. You're nervous about getting in range. In order for me to do the requisite damage I need to do, I need to get in a certain range where I'm in danger now. And you start playing this game of tag, and it happens all the time. Next thing you know, it gets to the last round, the bell rings, and the guys are so shocked. Like, wait, that's it? Or wait, there's only 1 round left? They're shocked that it happened. And you hear the coach screaming the entire time, you got to let the hands go. Let your hands go. That's it. There's a certain amount of risk that comes with that, but the only possible way you can get the result that you want to get, it comes along going down that road of that risk. So you just got to let your hands go, whatever that is. If you want to start a podcast, what's this guy going to think of me, man? There's a million podcasts. What's going on? The Coach's Compass. I think that's a cool name, but like these guys got this podcast. Let your hands go, man. Because the better you do,
baby.
The best case scenario for you and your podcast is that this continues to grow. You have a wonderful podcast. It brings you revenue. It helps you with all your other ventures that you have going on in your life. That's the best case scenario. You seem like a great dude. I love the questions. I love the flow of everything and your style. There's no reason why with consistency you won't get there. But the best case scenario that is that all those things happen. What will also come with that is people not liking you at a higher rate than you ever had in your entire life when you were more obsolete. So that is a necessary part. Get hit in the nose if you want to be able to put somebody out. And that's speaking to somebody that doesn't have, I don't have any sort of like mixed martial arts or boxing experience. I'm just a fan. But that was what I told my guys, man, you got to let those paws go. So, yeah, I would say something like that, man. Let the hands go in whichever area of life you got.
Heck yeah, coach. I love it, baby. It's all about betting on yourself, taking a couple blows, right? How can you get back up? How do you keep on rolling, baby? Showing up on each and every day. But coach, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for your time today and coming on the Coach's Compass and just keeping it 100 as always, baby.
Yeah, man. I would say I really enjoyed this, and I love how respectful you are of people's time, the individuals that you're seeking conversations with, the questioning, your ability to pivot off of certain answers. This was, I think you're very good at what you do. I listen to a lot of podcasts. Anytime you want to have me on, man, if I ever can do anything for you, you reach out and I consider it done. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, coach, and always. And we're out.
Yep.
Coach, that was